So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Right, I have no idea what my intro went for. So my intro song went for. So let's just chalk that one up for yeah. Anyway, Stade Rennais 1, Aston Villa 2. Talk to me, guys. Get your comments in there because I like to think I've got a nice measured thought on that game. We've an undefeated preseason. As literally the club admin on the social medias couldn't wait to say the whistle wasn't even blown and it was like undefeated. Don't forget we're undefeated. Well, I think that is true. And well, it is obviously true, but I think it's a big factor. The fact that we are undefeated in preseason is pretty good. There was a lot of positives in this game, and you wouldn't think it looking at social media. There's a lot of people who like it ranges anywhere from the fact that we needed. I saw one post on social media that blew my mind that we needed to dip in and spend. I think they said 250 million before the Bournemouth game to stand any chance. And I think that's just complete and utter hyperbolic. But yes, there were some things that were poor. There were some things that weren't in that game. And obviously, let's get started, I suppose, firstly with the goal that we conceded. Then we can talk about everything else after that. And if anybody was listening to the Team Sheet Tantrum and to the preview, I spent quite a lot of time talking about their corner routines and the fact that they are very prolific from corners, that they like to get in amongst it and like to work things at corners. And our first goal came from a corner from their new signing, their new centre half who they signed from Bologna. But let's really be honest, they didn't need to work too hard for that goal at the corner. So they could have had all the routines that you want, but Boubacar Kamara left him from the corner. And that was a bit of a sucker punch, I think, for us, because we shouldn't really be conceding goals as easy as that, as easy as we did, should I say, in that instance. But the team soldiered on, and I think we had a very, very good response to it. I think all in all, for the rest of the first half, we absolutely owned the game. The first half, should I say, anyway. At least Leon Bailey came into the game. We started attacking long, and I know a lot of people want to see lovely silky passing straight through the middle, and I did talk about that. But in the first half, we decided they were playing a higher line. There was the sun in their face, and we went long, and we got a lot of joy over the top, I think. You can think of the goal that we actually scored. We did kind of go through the middle. It was a cross in. It was a lovely header by Watkins all the way out. I think it was to Digne. Was it Digne? They picked it up after that header from Watkins. So Watkins kind of kept the initial cross alive, headed it out to Digne. Digne played it across, and Leon Bailey, you'll have to buy me a lot of points to convince me that you meant to kick that off the ground into the net. That was a spectacular mishit. But you need to be in those right positions, and to beat a goalkeeper like Mandana like that, I think fair play to you. Fortune favours the brave, and I'll take if he scores 20 goals this season in all of our mishits, I couldn't care less, because as long as they hit the back of the onion bag, that's all that matters. But it was a nice goal. It was a nice build up, and I think for the rest of the half we kind of owned it. Getting caught at corners again and from set pieces. There was one time where it was a lovely whipped in corner. Now it did go wide, but Martinez came for it and he was nowhere near it. And then there was a push on Kanza and there was a free out. And there was a couple of more other times that they got in around us at corners. But they didn't bring a whole pile to the table at all from an attacking point of view. I think they set up very resolutely in defence and in midfield. But from an attacking point of view, I thought they were very, very underwhelming, considering what I'd seen from last season, a team that scored over 80 goals. They were really underwhelming for me. But Aston Villa had to break them down, and they tried. And in the second half, we came out and we tried to pass the ball a lot more. And it was, I think the heat kind of caught a lot of people today. Like, it was pretty warm out there, should I say. And also the fact that you had that annoying shadow and glare situation. There's no legislating for that in the game, specifically how high the sun was at that period of time. So it's look, it's one of those things. I think that that you can take the positives in the first half with the negatives. The negatives being obviously the corners, and the positives were the fact that we tried to get the ball done, we tried to play, but we initially then we decided that we were going to go to Plan B and go over the top, and we saw that they had a high line. So you've there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I think in the first half we looked and we played actually some nice balls into the basket there, into that kind of area, diagonal balls into the kind of the channels, should I say, from long range. Let's take a little look at some of your comments there as well. Ted says they didn't have the game live in Australia. Yeah, it actually wasn't live on AVTV anywhere outside the UK. So there was some streaming issues, there were some broadcasting issues with regards to that. Anwar says Feeney looks class. Well, he did try a couple of things. He sold the striker down the Swanee with a dummy, and then he did carry the ball out of defence for a kid who's only 17 years of age. I think that is definitely something to look forward to. We're going to get to a couple of things that I suppose really need to be spoken about. And these, I think, are going to be common themes over the course of the season. Number one, I think, is, look, the elephant in the room here is, do we have a striker at the club? Do we have a striker that we can rely on for those snap chances? And when we go back to that first half, Leon Bailey got in and he did Trojan work to win a ball, laid it back to Ollie Watkins, and Ollie Watkins pondered on it and got his pocket picked. When you lay that back to a striker, you at least expect him to have a snapshot. If it goes wide, it goes wide. What about it? But getting your pocket picked shows a small bit of I don't know, it just shows a small bit of I prefer my striker to be a small bit more clinical there. And the second half, there was a lovely cross in from McGinn. Shut up, intro music. Now isn't the time for you to come on. I have no idea where that came from. But it was in the second half, there was a ball that came through from McGinn. He got his head on it and it went wide. And look, I don't really mind that, but when we don't fashion an awful lot of chances, we need somebody to at least be clinical to get on the end of those crosses. And I don't think Cameron Archer scores that headed chance either, but potentially he scores the first chance. I'm not sure if Danny Ings scores either of those two chances either. So maybe we're being too critical or too harsh on Ollie Watkins there. But until we see a snapshot finish from him, these questions, I suppose, will be asked of him. I thought Coutinho, there was a comment there that Coutinho was quite. I thought Coutinho was okay. I thought he came deep. I liked when he came deep. I liked the fact that we tried about 3 to 4 different combinations in that game. We tried 3 or 4 different formations in that game as well, and I liked that. Some of them by necessity based on who we had in the bench, but others I think were Steven Gerrard just trying to kind of see how they could change it up mid game. Luke Dean is somebody I'm going to talk about as well because with our propensity to give the ball away in midfield, and you guys would have seen it in Twitter, we leave ourselves in a situation whereby we just cannot give the ball away in midfield because Luke Dean's positioning is so high. Something I spoke about last season, it's carried over into this season. And another thing is that, like, if he's that high up there because he's our outlet to cross the ball, well then, why are we crossing the ball? Why are we crossing the ball from those positions? We're not getting any joy out of it. Deeper crosses is where we get the joy from. You see it from the Ashley Young's cross for Diego Carlos's goal. Those deeper crosses are where we're getting purchase. You see it from that McGinn cross, as I mentioned previously, for the Ollie Watkins chance. For the first goal, the cross was deeper that came in that Ollie Watkins had to get his head on and it goes over to Dina. So we're going so far forward with Luca Dean that if we give away the ball in midfield, like that, and it happened once in the game there, but for me, I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze with having him so far up the field. Based on the fact, like, yes, it is a preseason game. I completely understand that, but for me, it's just nitpicking. I think with something, and there will be some games where he'd be fantastic, and I know he gets a lot of assists and he crosses the ball in, but until we sort out what way our strikers are going to play, or at least if our strikers hit a vein of form, I just think that crossing from the byline, or that shallow crossing, I'm going to call it, as opposed to deep crossing, I just don't think it's working. I just don't think it's working. I'm seeing comments in here. saying we should sell Ali Watkins. We shouldn't sell Ali Watkins. We shouldn't sell Ali Watkins. Ali Watkins is a very good player. Ali Watkins needs goals. Ali Watkins just happened to have 2 chances today that he didn't score. I don't think we should sell Ali Watkins because I don't think that the return on investment is going to be there in Ali Watkins. And look, let's just say there's loads of these statistics that are out there that the amount of non-penalty goals scored by strikers in the Premier League, Ali Watkins is right up there over the last 2 seasons. So I don't think we should sell Ali Watkins. I want to make that 100% clear. I'm just frustrated at that chance, the Bailey chance. They dropped him. I think the second headed chance, while I would love to see him stick it, I don't think Archer Ring scores that chance either. That was a chance that's made for somebody like from a throwback, like Christian Vieri or Harry Kane will score that chance. But then again, Harry Kane is probably 6'2", and that's his bread and butter. It's not Ali Watkins' bread and butter. So I don't think we should. I think the selling of I think calls for selling Ali Watkins is a massive overreaction, and I don't want to offend anybody. That's just my view. That's just my view on it. Like, don't get me wrong, if someone comes in and bids 40 or 50 million for him, then I think you consider it just like you do with any other player. But to just actively bin him, I think is, I don't think Villa are in a position to do that, and I don't think it would be smart based on the fact that he's been pretty much our goal getter over the last 2 seasons. Much not as we want him to be better. Young Tim is a fine player. He came on, he booted a fella up into the sky, got his yellow card for it, and he threaded 2 lovely passes, 2 absolutely brilliant passes he threaded. And I loved when they brought him on that they trusted him to anchor that midfield. They pushed Boubacar Kamara back into defence to play alongside Diego Carlos. And Diego Carlos, I haven't even mentioned him other than saying he scored the goal. Diego Carlos is a brick wall back there. I'm really, really impressed with him. Now, Rennes didn't do a whole pile from an attacking point of view, but anything that dropped him, anything he needed to do, I thought he was very, very assured. And as I say, he popped up in the box and scored that goal as well to win the game. But young Tim, I can see what Stephen Gerrard is excited about young Tim for. You know, he does that. He was only a small period of time he was on. I think it was maybe half an hour, but he marshaled in there very well. He had those 2 lovely passes. He's comfortable getting around the place, and he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. And, you know, that is really, really, really impressive for me. He was really impressive. Sanson came on. He carried the ball forward. I'm trying to think who else was there. Douglas Luiz, I thought, was okay. I thought he floated in and out of the game a small bit, but I think he was more so covering ground than he was doing anything else on the field. But would have liked to have seen a small bit more from him. John McGinn gave the ball away once or twice, but everything is going mad here. Between intro music coming on in the middle of the podcast, and now things falling off the wall behind me. Everything is going wrong in this podcast. But anyway, John McGinn, I thought I would have liked to have seen a small bit more from him. Difficult job in midfield. I don't think anybody really stood out from our midfield 3 within the game, because I just think that the game was tough in the middle. But I don't think anybody was poor either, if that makes sense. I don't think anybody was poor. Yes, as McGinn gave the ball away once anyway in the first half, and he gave it away in the second half when we had that counter-attack when Dini was so far up the field. But yeah, I wouldn't say that anybody was poor in midfield either. I think the big thing for us for Villa itself was the fact that we had a lot of the ball, fashioning chances. While we did fashion some chances, Leon Bailey looked like the most lively in the first half, went out of it in the second half, and then you just wanted Ali Watkins to score a goal. I think really was my view on it anyway. Okay, let's have a little look at some of the comments here. Demi Leach says Augustinsson looked okay and Sanson looked very anxious to do something. Yeah, I agree with both of those. Danny Harvey says, just to repeat myself for the 1,000th time, we desperately need a striker. I think we do need a striker, but I think we're caught between a rock and a hard place because there aren't that many good strikers out there. And that's a big problem in itself. Big problem in itself. And I think the Borussia Dortmund are now going to have to dip into the market again. So there will be a lot of strikers edging their bets over the next couple of weeks to see who will be that man that steps in for Sebastian Haller, because while they did think it was only going to be a 6 to 8 week recovery from that tumor, it looks like it's going to be a lot longer. I think they said it's going to be a number of months that he will need, and we wish him all the best here, because that's not something that you want to ever discover, specifically when you're after getting a big move like that. Camera Baby says Watkins' form is worrying. Absolutely agree. I agree that he is worrying. Stint 69 says, I think Garla's goal just papered over the cracks of a poor performance that showed we're struggling from last season's problems of having an imbalanced midfield and continue going missing. I don't really agree with that because 3 games in a row, you don't really paper over, or 4 games in a row, I don't think paper over the cracks. If that's like, it's just the thing where you say it's papering over the cracks is the thing that I'm struggling with there. I don't disagree with you about an imbalanced midfield, although I think we're a lot more balanced now with it there. I think it's more so that I agree with you that Coutinho going missing, although today he just didn't have that massive creative spark, I think, which was more down to the fact that Watkins and Ings and were so poor when they played today. Now, although that's unfair in Ings because he only played, but I don't think it's papering over the cracks. I think we were the better team out there today. Like they didn't. We were by far the better team. It was backs and forwards there for a period of time, but I think the view I'm taking of it is that while it wasn't perfect, it was massively far away from perfect. There, we ground out a result today, and there are times in games over the period of last season that we needed to get draws or we needed to grind out a win like that, and we wouldn't have been able to do it. So I think there is slight progress there. But are we where all of us want us to be? Absolutely not. So I agree with that point from that point of view, Stints, for sure. Actually, guys, is Marvelous Nakamba injured? Anybody in the comments? Marvelous Nakamba, we've barely seen him at all. And I presume he would have been playing at Fulham today, but I just completely forgot about him. Lemmings says Irogbunum is second choice DM for me. Rob Henry says we played some decent opposition over preseason. Yeah, remember when we used to go on preseason to Sweden and play like Sweden third division teams and win 12 and 15-0. We certainly didn't see any of that this off season. Although arguably, I think some people might throw back at me to say that we mightn't have been able to score 12 or 15 goals this off season. But it's as I said, we did play some good opposition, and I think we are in a good spot going in against Bournemouth. I think if we play like we played today against Bournemouth, we still beat Bournemouth. If that makes while it was, and it wasn't by all means. I want this team to play an awful lot better than they did today, for sure. I agree with this one as well. Aston, the Villa fan, says the ball behind Ings was gutting. Yeah, so there was a nice ball in from Ashley Young, I think it was. And it was just behind Danny Ings because I think we are at that stage, as I've said about 3 times in the podcast now. We need one of our strikers to score. We need one of those 2 big names to score. Because I think that it's becoming a kind of a talking point now. It's becoming a monkey on their back. So again, and we're now into the season. We're into the season now. So Bournemouth is going to be a big spotlight in our striking department for sure. Conrad says that Bailey is a man on a mission. I liked how he played today. Yeah, I think he did kind of run out of steam in the second half, and we didn't get the kind of ball we wanted to him. We looked like we favoured more the left-hand side to try and keep the ball out of this glaring sun for times in the second half. But I like Bailey today again. Bailey's been a standout performer over the whole lot of the off season, I think, or the preseason, should I say. How good is young Tim, says Chris there. Yeah, I think he's very good. Anything else here? Seb says great result and good minutes for a lot of them. Young was very assured and heavily involved when he came on. Interesting, Kamara dropped into the back line and Feely was very calm in his cameo. Good preparation. Yes, I want to say, as everybody here who listens to the podcast will know, I sing Ashley Young's praises, and I think he's definitely a left or a right back, and I never had any doubt on that at all. I can't even say that with a straight face. I'm probably his biggest detractor, but fair play to him. He came on today. He did he had 3 really, really good crosses. So good show from him today. Yeah, really. And it was good thinking from him for the short corner for the goal because he sprinted around the goals, got around to that side, played the short corner with Coutinho, I think it was, and then crossed in and Carlos nodded in at the back post. And there was a queue of players at the back post. So I don't know whether it was a pre-prescribed corner or what, but sometimes putting the ball into the area is all you need as opposed to trying to put it on someone's head. And he certainly did that. Conrad says, all in all, I think there are more positives today than negatives. Yeah, but saying that, I think the people are well within their rights to want more positives than we saw out there today. Specifically, some basic things that didn't really go right out there today. But I agree with you, Conrad. I think there were more positives out there than negatives. I think we were by far the better team on the field today. By far the better team, and I think that shows where this team can go. That we can be even better than we played out there today. The Gerrard can't really have any moans about the preseason. I think that's a fair synopsis based on the fact that we've had no injuries. We've won every game. We haven't been 100%. We haven't been perfect. And I'm going to keep on saying that. We certainly haven't been perfect, but you got to take wins when wins are coming along, and you never but there are things to work on, and I think that keeps the fire burning for people like Gerrard, and it should do for the players as well. So it's been a positive off season. All in all, exactly. I agree with you. That's an interesting one. Ad says that Ings scored yesterday against Fulham in a 1-0 win. That'd be interesting. And that would probably explain why you only got 10 minutes at the end against Rennes. Big fan that Kamara can slip back into defense so we can bring extra reinforcements in attack. I agree with that as well. The versatility there is superb. It's great to see. Where are we? Thank you very much, Scotty. Scotty, I can't see where your comment is, but I just want to say really, really thanks a million, Scotty. Really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Where are we? Sorry there, guys. I'm after losing my place here. British Mick says, don't want to be a damn squid, but up to the halfway line, absolutely brilliant. After that, not a Scooby, no improvement in last season, and this worries me. Even an aging Ashley Young making a difference. Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say he made a difference. He had a couple of good crosses, all right, yeah, but at that stage, everybody was tired. It was like well into the 88th minute at that stage, and plus they had some 16-year-old out in that wing for at that period of time, and they had another 17-year-old in centre half. So yeah, look, it's a for me. I agree with what I've no problem with you saying with that being the opinion on it, because I don't think that you're 100% wrong for sure, and I wouldn't defend an opinion against that, should I say? But yeah, as I say, there's lots to work on. There is stuff to work on, but I do think that we actually controlled the ball better, and we were by far the better team. On that, and like, I wonder, is there anyone out there who thinks we weren't the better team today? Is there anyone out there who thinks we weren't the better team? Because I thought we were absolutely by far and away the better team. We were the only team who actually came to really kind of look like we wanted to get phases together. Because I was really disappointed in Santa Maria. I was really disappointed in Terria that I bigged up beforehand. We didn't see Jeremy Doku. They had that Croatian guy that they had a 10-15 minute spell in the middle of the first half who was really, really good. Guy who took the corners. Apart from that, I don't really think that there was any real standout player for them at all. And any of their chances came probably from us forcing the issue, at times. So they look like they just came to set up and be resolute. And we did fail to break them down. But then again, they were the fourth place team in Ligue 1 last season, and they're not a bad side either. They're not a bad side for sure. I think this is interesting as well, Ian. Love the crowd, gave an old-fashioned Euro feel. I thought their crowd were brilliant. I thought our crowd were brilliant too. But I agree with that. I think that there was a lovely atmosphere throughout the whole lot of it. There was consistent singing, and they were definitely up for it. Their crowd were, and so were ours. Where are we? Keith Kelly says, enjoyed that revenge tackle at the end from young team after the push. We need a little nastiness in the team, in my honest opinion. And I think Tim more or less he knew what he was doing there. He just booted him up into the air for sure. But he won't get away with that in the Premier League, that's for sure. But look, I suppose you take your chances where you can get him in that aspect, and no harm. Your man kind of half expected it, and he got up off the ground smiling. So there is something in that for sure. That's thanks so much for all your comments. I really appreciate it. But yeah, Ronan Ward says there's a poltergeist. I think there is something coming off my wall and my intro coming on in the middle of the podcast. So that wasn't exactly ideal. I think I'm going to wrap it up on this, guys, because as I say, it's been an interesting game, and it's been one of those it's one of those games that people are going to go away from it and are going to be pissed off. But at the end of the day, I just feel like I should have just recorded. We were a better team and we won 2-1. You know, it wasn't great, but there was positives coming out of it. Sorry, I'm real sorry. I missed the comment there. Somebody was saying that something about Philip Billing going to boss our midfield next week. I don't know about that either. It could very well happen, but I'm not quite sure. Philip Billing, the first year that we played against Bournemouth, was absolutely outstanding, but he should have been sent off after about 12 minutes. He had about 9 fouls in 12 minutes. So I think that he'll foul his way around the field for Bournemouth. But we'll get on to that. As the week progresses. But no, if you watch that game and you feel like that you're worried about the season, I think that's absolutely fine. I think it's fine, because it wasn't a perfect game for sure. But I don't think that they brought anything to the table. And to be honest with you, the minutes and the legs for those players, would have liked to seen some goals from strikers. But apart from that, we pushed the ball, we pushed the envelope, I think, in that game. But it certainly wasn't perfect by any means. But 2-1 win coming away from Rennes, undefeated in preseason. And I know it doesn't mean anything when you talk about being undefeated in preseason, but at the end of the day, there's been that winning does breed confidence. You know, if you can continue to win and win ugly, well then that's something that we needed to do last season we couldn't do. So guys, thanks ever so much everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could give it a thumbs up on the YouTube video, that would be great. I am sitting here in my my office, and I just realized I have no window open, and I think I'm going to pass out from the heat. So if I do pass out before the end of the podcast, somebody just, I don't know, ring Paddy and tell him to turn off the podcast or something. But thanks a million, everybody, for everything you do. Really appreciate it. We will be back with our preview of the season coming up in the middle of next week. We will also be back with Team Sheet Tantrums for Bournemouth next week, and previews and reviews and all that jazz. So we're back full swing into the swing of things for the season coming. And I want to thank all of you for being with us over the off season. I want to thank all of you for the really nice messages that we've had. We've really grown our audience over the off season as well, and that to me is astounding. And I really thank every single one of you from the bottom of my heart, because if you guys weren't here, I'd just be a guy talking into a TV screen like an idiot. So thanks very much, everybody, for everything you do for the podcast. But unbeaten on to Bournemouth, and we'll see where this season takes us. But until then, guys, we will be back during the week. Stay safe, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.